Hi, I'm Benita Rockingham, and welcome to our third season of Holding It Together, a Mennonite Church USA Women in Leadership sponsored podcast. The views expressed on this podcast are my own and are not necessarily indicative of the views of MC USA.
I believe in mutual aid.
I believe in radical
I
kindness.
believe deeply in God's commitment to
I
wholeness.
believe in nonviolence. I believe in us. This season of Holding It Together, we are exploring and holding space for the beauty in our beliefs by hearing this I believe statements from folks across our denomination. As people of peace, we experience connection with one another through our core beliefs in following Jesus Christ, witnessing and living God's peace through pacifism, standing up against injustice, and living into God's call of continued transformation. In this season, we will hear how living into those beliefs shape other truths we hold and celebrate the movement of the Spirit working through us in the world. Today, I'm joined by my friend, Reverend Dr. Sarah Ann Bixler. She's the Associate Dean of the Seminary and teaches formation and practical theology at Eastern Mennonite University in Harrisonburg, Virginia. She holds a PhD in practical theology, an MDiv from Princeton Theological Seminary, and a BA in English education from Eastern Mennonite University. Her scholarship explores attachment theory and adolescent belonging in faith communities. Sarah, along with her spouse Benjamin and their 3 children, are engaged in restorative work at their historic farm in the Shenandoah Valley, a former plantation established by President Lincoln's great-uncle. They attend Parkview Mennonite Church. Sarah, thank you so much for being here with me today. I am so excited to have you help me kick off our next season of Holding It Together, and I am really looking forward to what you have to share with us today. I invite you to share your This I Believe statement with us.
Thank you so much for the opportunity to be here on this podcast. It's great to talk with you, Benita, and to receive the challenge of thinking about what is at the core of what I believe. I believe deeply in God's commitment to wholeness for people and all of creation. And that wholeness requires peace and freedom, and it requires restoration acts where harm may have occurred. I believe that I, as a follower of Jesus, am called to join God's restorative work in the world for this sense of wholeness. And when I read scripture and trace the themes that are in it, I see this wholeness showing up as God's shalom. I see God's work through representatives who are seeking to follow God's way of acts of liberation and restoration.
Sarah, I am sitting here with a picture of God desiring wholeness for each of us. God envisioning and imagining and working at all times for the wholeness of each of God's creations. And I am just so thankful for that visual and for the way in which you painted God as someone who is seeking wholeness and liberation, and how those two go hand in hand. I'm wondering if you could share with us a little bit more about how that belief was first shaped for you.
It has really been a slow and unfolding understanding that has emerged for me. A lot of it was clarified during my own time in seminary, where I was immersed in theological study. For the first time in my life, had an opportunity to really devote a lot of time and attention and presence to that kind of reflective work. And so for me, as a student at a Reformed seminary, I encountered a lot of doctrines that were different than those that I had come to understand in my own Anabaptist formation. And I discovered that there was a bit of a rub that I experienced, a bit of discomfort with some of them, and it helped me to clarify the belief statement that I've just provided. One of these moments for me was encountering the Reformed doctrine of total depravity, a sense that there is no aspect of the human person that sin has not touched and contaminated. And I was reading that alongside my own exploration of Menno Simon's complete writings and searching for something that might articulate understandings of human persons just a bit differently. And what I found in Simon's writings was this beautiful commitment to restoration of the image of God in the sense of not a total change from a completely depraved state, but a regeneration. So there's a sense that there is part of who we are created as true and good that remains and that cannot be touched by sin or evil or harm or whatever we might want to call what is not right in the world. And it is through the experience of faith that God's Spirit restores and regenerates this goodness that is still present within every human person. And for me, that was a moment of recognition of what I truly believed about who human beings are. It also underlies a lot of the rest of my belief statement. So the sense of peace or shalom is based on the conviction that there is a spark of divine presence that is present in all human beings and across all of creation. And so therefore it's not possible to harm that with violence. And so for me, this commitment to Anabaptist nonviolence and a sense of peace and wholeness became integrated and coherent as I explored these theological concepts.
Sarah, thank you so much for being here today, for helping us to kick off this next season of Holding It Together, for giving language to a God who is actively seeking and pursuing wholeness and liberation for all creation, and for reminding us about that divine spark. This episode was produced by me, Benita Rockingham, with editing help from Alex Woodring and music by my dear friend Redfa Jan Titi Halawa. Holding It Together is a joint production of Women in Leadership and MCUSA. Look for us on our page on the MCUSA website, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, or your favorite podcast streaming site. I'm your host, Benita Rockingham. Thanks for listening, y'all, and catch you next time on the flip side.